Viewers, India and Australia have common concerns and shared goals. And let's tell you about those. Both of them want to Trump-proof their trade relationships, given the disruptions that Donald Trump and his administration have caused. They also want to China-proof their supply chains. And they also want to ensure that the Indo-Pacific remains free and fair. Which is when the foreign ministers of Australia and India met, they made progress on all these matters. And I spoke about this to the Australian High Commissioner, Philip Green, who mentioned that the trade deal between the two sides is likely to take place sooner rather than later. Even as the one thing that is becoming a thorny issue between India and Australia has been the repeated racist attacks that the Indian community in Australia is facing. Listen into the assurance that's coming from the Australian High Commissioner. We have with us Australian High Commissioner speaking exclusively to NDTV. But sir, let me first start with the Foreign Minister's visit to India. Penny Wong's visit came at a time when Australia-India ties are seeing a massive increase, both in terms of their scope as well as potential. What do you think would be the Minister's single biggest highlight in terms of the visit and the success?
Well, you're right that our bilateral links at a very high level, and Penny Wong and Dr. Jaishankar have an extremely good relationship. But the reality is that we live in a world which is more complex and contested. We live in a world of disruption. And it's a time in global affairs where trusted partners are even more important. And Australia, at this time of disruption, is presenting itself as a reliable and steadfast partner to the region, and not least to India. So it was great for our foreign ministers to be able to catch up.
Indians form a very large cohort in Australia, but over the last couple of months, there have been stray instances with regard to racist attacks. There have also been instances where the community has been picked on. Do you think maybe more could be done to ensure that the community, which contributes so much to the Australian economy, to the society, can be given that comfort, that extra protection maybe, because when racist attacks come in, they actually target a community and leave a very large scar?
Well, let me first say that Australia is one of the safest places in the world. We have a vibrant multicultural society, and Indians can feel safe and secure in our country. You are right that in recent times there have been demonstrations, relatively small demonstrations, by people who have an anti-immigration sentiment. And some of that relates to Indians. I want to be very clear about this. Our government has decried some of the things said in these demonstrations. And we have been very clear that we stand for a multicultural Australia. We stand for a country where everybody who comes legally to our society is dealt with respect and generosity. And we particularly stand with those migrants who come to Australia because they make such a huge contribution to our life. Yeah. Final thing I want to say is this. Australia is a bit different from other Western countries because of all of our population, more than half either came from another country themselves or one or both parents came from another country. So there is a very lively migrant element to Australian society.
Final question, sir, which is around security concerns that several people in the Indian security establishment have had with regard to Khalistani elements in Australia. It has been raised at several levels. There has also been reassurances that have come in from Australia. What more can be done to ensure that these security concerns that India has had and continue to do so are addressed?
Oh, look, we're very vigilant on that matter. And I can assure you that the Australian Federal Police and the other security authorities in Australia are very closely focusing on making sure that everyone in Australia can feel safe and secure. There's also no question about Australia's view about India's territorial sovereignty, which we think is completely unquestionable. But I do want to say this. Australia is a free country, and people are entitled to undertake peaceful protest. And so long as protests are peaceful, it's an entitlement of Australians to undertake that. But that comes alongside a rigid requirement against violence and in particular for us to be vigilant to make sure that incidents which have occurred in other countries have not occurred in ours, of diplomatic and consular premises being infracted, that doesn't happen in Australia.